Disturbing truths about the air you're breathing indoors. Most people worry about what's floating around outside. Smog, smoke, car exhaust. The mysterious cloud following that one diesel truck that clearly lost its will to live sometime in 2008. Then they walk inside, take a deep breath and think, fresh air, that's adorable. Because the average home is less like a sealed sanctuary and more like a giant snow globe filled with microscopic junk. Every couch cushion, blanket, carpet, curtain, shirt, towel, pillow, pet, and human inside your house is constantly contributing to an invisible blizzard of particles. You just can't see it because your eyes aren't equipped with microscopic zoom lenses. If they were, you'd probably never stop vacuuming or screaming. The strange part is that houses are constantly dissolving, not dramatically. Your walls aren't melting like cheese. But every single day, tiny pieces of nearly everything inside your home break off. Fabric fibers escape from clothing, paint flakes become dust, carpet sheds. Furniture releases microscopic fragments, paper slowly wears away. Even electronics contribute tiny particles as plastics age. And then there's the biggest contributor of all, you. Humans are basically self-replenishing dust factories. Your skin doesn't stay attached forever. Every few weeks, your outer layer has completely replaced itself. Those old skin cells don't disappear into another dimension, they become dust. Tiny flakes drifting through your living room while you're binge-watching documentaries about surviving in the wilderness. Ironically, you're surviving perfectly fine while slowly seasoning your own house with yourself, kind of poetic, kind of horrifying. Scientists estimate people shed millions of skin cells every single day. Most are so tiny you never notice them. They float into the air, settle onto furniture, collect inside air vents, and become part of the mysterious grey layer that somehow appears on every shelf 5 minutes after you cleaned it. Dust isn't just dirt. It's a bizarre cocktail: skin cells, fabric fibers, pet dander, hair fragments, soil tracked in from outside, pollen, tiny insect pieces, mold spores. Cooking residue, smoke particles, microscopic bits of plastic, yes, plastic. Every time synthetic fabrics rub together, microscopic fibers can break loose. Fleece blankets, tiny fibers, polyester shirts, tiny fibers. Synthetic carpets, more fibers. Some researchers have even detected microplastics floating through indoor air. Think about that. You can literally inhale tiny pieces of your own blanket. Suddenly cuddling on the couch sounds slightly more aggressive than advertised. Thankfully, your respiratory system isn't completely helpless. Your nose deserves way more appreciation than it gets. Everyone complains about noses: too big, too small, crooked, allergies, congestion. Meanwhile, your nose is working overtime like an unpaid security guard. Tiny hairs catch larger particles. Sticky mucus traps smaller ones. Then microscopic hair-like structures called cilia slowly sweep all that trapped junk toward your throat, which sounds disgusting, because it is. Eventually, you swallow most of it without realizing. Congratulations. Your nose has secretly been feeding you filtered garbage your entire life. You're welcome. Of course, not everything gets caught. The smallest particles can travel deeper into the lungs, reaching tiny air sacs where oxygen enters the bloodstream. Most harmless particles are eventually cleared away by specialized immune cells. But when the air contains large amounts of pollutants, or you're exposed for years, those cleanup crews become overwhelmed. Imagine assigning 3 janitors to clean a stadium after a monster truck rally. Eventually, they're just staring into space, wondering where life went wrong. Indoor air quality becomes especially interesting because modern houses are getting better at trapping air. That sounds like a good thing: energy efficient, lower heating bills, less drafty, but here's the catch: if air can't escape easily, neither can everything floating inside it. Older homes leaked air through cracks everywhere, terrible for heating. Great for accidentally ventilating your mistakes. Modern homes often keep much more indoor air, indoors, which means cooking fumes, cleaning chemicals, moisture, carbon dioxide, dust. And odors may stick around much longer, unless fresh air regularly replaces them. That's why ventilation matters so much. Sometimes the healthiest thing your house can do is simply breathe. The irony is almost painful. Humans spend centuries inventing better ways to seal buildings. Then scientists start saying, actually, maybe crack a window. There's another bizarre contributor to indoor particles, your bed, specifically your mattress. Think about how much time humans spend lying perfectly still every night. Then imagine tiny fabric fibers, dust particles, skin flakes, and mattress materials becoming airborne every time you roll over dramatically after remembering something embarrassing from 7th grade. Sleeping looks peaceful. Under a microscope, it's basically a slow-motion dust explosion. Hotels know this. That's one reason high-quality air filtration and aggressive cleaning schedules matter so much in large buildings. Otherwise, thousands of guests would slowly donate microscopic souvenirs to future visitors. Nothing says hospitality like recycled stranger skin. Actually, let's never say that again. Pets deserve honorable mention too. Cats and dogs don't just shed fur. They produce dander, tiny skin particles that easily float through the air. Many people think they're allergic to fur. Usually they are reacting to proteins attached to dander, saliva, or urine. Meaning even homes that look spotless can still contain airborne allergens long after the pet has left the room. Your golden retriever isn't trying to attack your immune system. He's just accidentally distributing biological glitter forever. Even activities that seem harmless create indoor particle storms, making your bed, folding laundry, vacuuming without a HEPA filter, walking across carpet, fluffing pillows, opening old boxes. Each one launches invisible debris into the air like a microscopic fireworks show. Your living room constantly shifts between calm weather and Category 5 dust hurricane. You just don't notice because everything is happening on a scale too small to watch. Maybe the strangest realization is this: a room can look perfectly clean. While the air is still packed with invisible particles, your eyes judge surfaces. Your lungs deal with everything else. So the next time sunlight shines through your window and suddenly reveals thousands of floating specks dancing through the beam, don't panic. You're not seeing dust appear. You're finally seeing the tiny universe that's been floating around you the entire time. Basically, your house isn't quietly sitting there protecting you. It's slowly falling apart. While you are two and together, you're making an invisible indoor weather system, one microscopic skin flake at a time. If aliens secretly studied humanity, they'd probably have one question. Why do they willingly stand over tiny indoor volcanoes 3 times a day? Cooking is one of the healthiest things you can do. It's also one of the fastest ways to completely change the air inside your house. That sizzling pan isn't just making dinner. It's manufacturing an invisible chemical soup. Nobody thinks about this because food smells amazing. Fresh garlic, bacon, toasted bread, cookies, pizza. These scents make your brain incredibly happy. Unfortunately, your nose can't always tell the difference between delicious smells and the tiny particles riding alongside them. The aroma gets all the attention. The pollution sneaks in through the back door. Heat changes everything. The moment oils reach high temperatures, they begin releasing microscopic droplets and gases into the air, those beautiful golden fries. Tiny airborne oil particles, that smoky steak particles. That slightly burned grilled cheese, because you got distracted watching videos about medieval torture devices, even more particles. Cooking doesn't mean your kitchen suddenly becomes toxic. But some methods release significantly more airborne material than others, especially frying, grilling, searing, and anything involving smoke. Smoke is basically matter that forgot how to stay solid. Instead of politely remaining inside the pan, countless tiny particles drift upward, spreading throughout the room before slowly settling onto walls, cabinets, windows. And your lungs get first access. Ever notice how kitchen cabinets gradually become sticky? That's not your imagination. Over time, microscopic cooking oils settle onto surfaces. Dust loves sticking to those oils. Layer after layer builds up until cleaning your cabinets feels like trying to remove caramelized glue. Now imagine what happens before those particles ever reach the cabinets. Exactly. Some pass through your respiratory system first. Gas stoves add another twist. Burning natural gas creates heat very efficiently. It also produces gases like nitrogen dioxide and small amounts of other combustion byproducts. Without proper ventilation, these gases can accumulate indoors, especially in smaller kitchens or tightly sealed homes. Electric stoves avoid combustion gases, but they still generate airborne particles from the food itself. So regardless of your stove, smoke remains smoke. The biggest hero in your kitchen isn't the refrigerator, it isn't the oven, it isn't even coffee. It's the boring metal box above your stove that everyone forgets exists, the range hood. When it actually vents outside, not all of them do. Some simply suck air through a grease filter and blow much of it right back into the kitchen, which is a little like trying to remove glitter by throwing it slightly to the left. Real ventilation physically removes a large portion of those cooking byproducts before they spread through the house, and yet, millions of people never turn it on because it's loud, or they forget. Or they think they are only cooking for a minute. Meanwhile, the onions are staging an airborne chemical uprising. There's another strange indoor villain, toasting. Burn toast just a little, and suddenly every smoke detector within 50 feet develops Olympic-level hearing. Those detectors aren't being dramatic. The tiny particles produced by burning food are exactly what they are designed to notice. Humans, on the other hand, tend to wave towels around while yelling, "It's fine." Science quietly disagrees. Even candles, incense, and fireplaces add to indoor particle levels. People often associate these with relaxation, soft lighting, pleasant smells, cozy evenings. And they absolutely can create that atmosphere. They also create combustion products. Fire doesn't magically produce warmth alone. It produces gases and particles too. Which means your peaceful spa evening may also be hosting a microscopic bonfire inside your living room. Again, moderation and ventilation make a huge difference. Indoor air isn't about fear, it's about accumulation. One smoky meal won't ruin your lungs. Years of consistently poor ventilation, however, can gradually increase exposure to airborne particles. Think of it like fingerprints. Touch one surface once, no big deal. Touch everything every day for years. Eventually somebody's going to notice. Your lungs notice too. The fascinating part is how quickly indoor air can improve once fresh air enters. Open windows, run an effective vent, use proper filtration. Particle concentrations often drop surprisingly fast. Air doesn't hold grudges. It just needs somewhere to go. Which makes cooking one of life's weirdest contradictions. The same activity that keeps you alive can temporarily make the air around you dirtier than you expected. Basically, every time dinner starts sizzling, your kitchen becomes a tiny weather system, and your range hood is the exhausted meteorologist, desperately trying to keep the forecast from turning into partly smoky with a chance of invisible grease. Imagine spending hours inside a room where nothing smells bad, nothing looks wrong, and nobody is coughing. Everything seems completely normal. Then, without realizing it, your brain starts running like a laptop with 37 browser tabs open, one of them playing music, another secretly mining cryptocurrency, and none of them willing to close. You blame the coffee, or your sleep schedule, or your phone. Meanwhile, the real culprit might just be everyone else is breathing. Now, before anybody panics, carbon dioxide isn't some evil gas lurking in your living room waiting for dramatic movie music to kick in. You literally produce it every second you're alive. Every breath you exhale contains far more carbon dioxide than the air around you. It's one of the most ordinary substances on Earth. Without it, plants would have a very bad day, and humanity would have a significantly worse one. The weird part isn't that carbon dioxide exists. The weird part is how quickly it can build up indoors. Think about your bedroom. You close the windows because it's cold, the door stays shut, maybe there's no fan running. Now imagine spending 8 straight hours inside that sealed box while continuously breathing. You aren't running out of oxygen. Hollywood loves that idea, but ordinary bedrooms don't usually become oxygen-starved death traps. Instead, carbon dioxide gradually rises because every breath keeps adding a little more to the room. It's less like draining a swimming pool and more like slowly adding food coloring to a glass of water. At first, nothing changes. Eventually, you notice the color. Scientists have measured surprisingly high carbon dioxide levels inside classrooms, conference rooms, offices, and bedrooms with poor ventilation. Why? Because humans are surprisingly efficient little carbon dioxide generators. One person isn't much. 20 people trapped in a meeting room for 2 hours. Now things get interesting. Ever sat through a meeting where everyone's eyes gradually lose focus? Someone starts asking questions that were literally answered 30 seconds earlier. Another person accidentally stares at the same spreadsheet cell for 5 minutes. The manager says, "Let's circle back." Everyone silently dies a little inside. Part of that mental slowdown might simply be the air. Research suggests that elevated indoor carbon dioxide levels can affect decision-making, concentration, and feelings of sleepiness, especially when ventilation is poor. The exact effects depend on the concentration and many other factors, but the overall pattern keeps showing up often enough that building designers now pay much closer attention to airflow than they used to. Basically, your brain likes fresh air almost as much as it likes avoiding taxes. The funny thing is how terrible humans are at noticing it. Your body doesn't suddenly flash a warning message saying, "Attention." Your office has become a breath soup. Instead, you just feel off. Maybe you're sleepy, maybe you're less focused. Maybe your head feels a little heavy. Since nothing dramatic happens, people rarely suspect the room itself. Instead, everyone blames themselves. "I'm just tired. I need another coffee. I should have slept earlier." Sometimes that's true. Sometimes your conference room has quietly become an exhale collection. Here's a bizarre mental image. Every person in a room carries around an invisible cloud of air that just came out of their lungs. It doesn't stay there forever because air constantly mixes. But for brief moments, everyone is literally breathing tiny amounts of everyone else's recent breath. Congratulations. Human civilization is held together by shared oxygen and recycled conversations. Nature has a strange sense of humor. This becomes even more noticeable in crowded spaces: subways, elevators, movie theaters, classrooms, airplanes. None of these are automatically unsafe. Most modern transportation systems have ventilation systems specifically designed to replace cabin air regularly. In fact, airplanes often circulate and filter air far more aggressively than many office buildings. Ironically, the place people fear for stale air sometimes has better ventilation than the office they've worked in for 10 years. Your bedroom, meanwhile, often gets ignored. People obsess over expensive mattresses, memory foam, cooling pillows, weighted blankets, luxury sheets. Then they spend the entire night breathing increasingly stale air because opening a window sounds slightly inconvenient. It's like buying a sports car and filling it with muddy fuel. Sleep researchers have found that better bedroom ventilation may improve sleep quality for some people. Again, it's not magic. Fresh air simply helps maintain healthier indoor conditions. Turns out your brain enjoys oxygen-rich environments more than sleeping inside what is basically an 8-hour breathing experiment.